I wanted this car to fit the image that I've had of it all these years. I'm constantly chasing perfection with this car, which many people may not like and agree, but that's the challenge for me in modifying the vehicle. I have the car looking to how I want it. Now I want it to look as best as it possibly can. What's up everyone? I'm Scanless Fool from Honda Society and I drive a 1994 Honda Accord EX Coupe. It's hard to say what got me into cars. I like to think that it happened organically, and my earliest recollection of being around cars is primarily classic cars, lowriders. And I can recall my father having a 1948 Chevy Fleetline, and even though I didn't know what it was at the time, I knew it was something special then. Stemming from that, I have an uncle who's probably my biggest automotive influence, my Theo Bear, and he's been building lowriders since the mid-70s. So my influence with cars has always come from an artistic perspective more than an engineering perspective. And I think having that insight at such an early age, it really changed my focus on how to look at cars. It was very much about the curves, the shapes, the lines, and anything I've done automotively has been with that in mind. So when we actually decided to begin looking for the cars, again, we went back to the recycler and we were just looking through the pages, combing through them. And something that's interesting about this car is it's actually not my first car. This is my second car. My first one was also a 1994 Honda Accord EX Coupe. And we checked out a couple cars. And ultimately my uncle and I drove all the way to the valley. I wish I could remember where. I think it was Northridge. And the car was from the original owner that we purchased it from. So we struck a deal, I want to say $2-3 grand, which wasn't bad at the time. And I drove the car home. I was real happy I had it, super excited. It was hard at the beginning, to be honest, because I was unfamiliar as to what was available for the chassis. And it wasn't until one day, out of sheer luck, that I came across a forum by the name of HondaSociety.com. And when I came across it, it was like an epiphany, because little did I know that forum was primarily specific to 5th gen Accord owners. And as I started searching and reading as much as I could on it, I saw the various styles and the plethora of options that are available in the aftermarket for this car. So I began to look then and decide what direction I wanted to go and move the car in. At the beginning of the video, I introduced myself as Scanless Fool. And the reality is my name is Ralph. But a lot of individuals do know me as Scanless Fool because that was and is my moniker that I used on Honda Society and all the other forums that I joined back in the day. And the reason that name came about was because of a term that my uncle used. I adopted the term and started using it myself. So I would always say, oh, that's Scanless, this is Scanless. And as a result of that, I just incorporated two words that I used to say all the time, Scanless and Fool. And that's how I became Scanless Fool. Currently, in the car's most recent iteration, it has a 96, 97 Grady front lip, an Atlantic front grille, and I think that's probably the newest things that I've done to it. But for the most part, the car as you see it has been the same for the past 12 years. One caveat, and in addition to what I just said, the Ion headlight covers are something that I had recently put on after I got the car back from being rebuilt in 2020. but the car is pretty much the same for the past 12 years. I got the car painted in 2010 at Bazan Auto in Pomona, and they had the car for a couple months. They did pretty much a full color change. My wheel and tire setup are 17-inch Rego Masters. They're 17 by 8 plus 25, wrapped in 215/45 middle Neogens. The tires are a personal favorite and something I've had on all of my cars because the inner part of the tire is structured so that it wears a lot better for camber in comparison to other tires. And looking closer into the wheel well, you'll see that I have Acura aero calipers with my moniker Scanless Full engraved and 13.1-inch rotors. And the calipers were rebuilt by Daniel over at WerdWerx, and final assembly we decided to go with some ARP bolts to help it stand out a little bit more. And another part I wanted to mention is the lug nuts are also Desmond lug nuts, in addition to a Desmond valve stem. The side markers are from a different chassis that I saw that was initially on a car, on another Accord from Canada. I saw them and I thought that they would fit well on the coupe because the coupe is a little bit more elongated, and considering the side markers as long as it was, it'll complement the side profile of the car. The car is also equipped with a set of brand new OEM visors. I picked these up recently and I picked up 2 sets. So I installed the worst of the 2 sets. If you can see here, it actually has a blemish. So I need to sand this down and compound it so it can have a nice finish, and then I'll go ahead and ceramic coat it. For the car, I think the most noticeable thing that you're gonna see is my Mugen flush mount spoiler. And this I picked up from my homeboy Sal, Simple Accord. And he was fortunate enough to part with it and hand it to me. So I've had this for going on 15 years now. And I want to also point out that on the rear bumper, what you'll see, or not see for that matter, is there's no side marker the way that there are in a lot of cars. And this was an option in Japan. I didn't know that at the time, but the reason I deleted that was because I wanted to fit the cleanliness and profile of the side of the car. And I took it a step further and I had the rear body line that goes around the bumper also filled in. So the car is smooth all the way around. The car's exhaust system is a Mugen exhaust, followed by a B-pipe that was fabricated by Wisecraft, and my header is actually a Mugen header that was from an RA Odyssey. And I found that out the hard way, because when we installed it, the way the collector runs underneath the oil pan, it cocks to the right. So we had to modify the B-pipe a certain way in order for me to run the remainder of the exhaust. Interior is what took me the longest to actually put together. Right now what you'll see is a pair of Recaro LXC Monza seats, and it took me 10 years to find these seats. I found them 10 years ago from a guy selling them out of New York, but at the time the guy didn't want to ship them, and it took me that long to find them. And I wanted these seats specifically because I feel as if it complements the interior much better, especially a beige interior, which a lot of individuals aren't very fond of. But I've come to find that if you keep this interior clean, it adds a different feel to the car, almost a bit of class, even though it's a 90s Econo box. I also have a set of brand new floor mats. Come to find out, those are actually from a 6th gen and not from the 5th gen, which I don't mind so much because the pile on them is a lot shorter. For my pedal assembly, I opted to go with some Mugen pedals. Initially, I wanted a set of SRR pedals in purple that would complement the spacer on the steering wheel, but those are so hard to find. So I opted for the next best thing, which was a set of Mugen pedals, and they're great because they have grip on them and your foot won't slip off. My steering wheel is a Mugen SW6 wood grain. This is another part that took me years and years and years to find. It's also complemented by the period correct horn buttons that would have came with the steering wheel back when it was first released. And I purchased that from IDT Customs. Behind that is the SRR hub spacer, and I have a WerdWerx Bell short hub. The shifter is actually a Civic boot because they're shorter. If you normally see the Accord ones, they're big and bulky and look out of place. So I opted to go with the Civic one after being referred to it by Corwin. And I'm a big fan of Sticky Dojo, and I have his 10th anniversary shifter knob on there, kind of to pay homage to him. And it's a small way of saying thank you for everything that you've done to the community. But what you can't see is my forbidden short shifter that I picked up from another guy on Honda Society. And those are very, very, very difficult to come across. And it's something that I never thought I would be able to find. So I'm very happy to have that, because that complemented with the way the car is set up. It shifts nice and crisp. So something that many people won't pay much mind to is actually the trim. I've replaced a lot of what I could get my hands on to make it brand new. So for example, the drip rails up on top, this trim, and the window trim around the front. In addition to, I recently replaced the seal around the front window, and I'm glad I did that because it was never my intention, but upon doing so, it really changed the look of the car, in my opinion. And that's because a lot of the time you'll see that these are corroded and faded because our cars are 30 years old now, and you'll see metal and chrome. Now it's black, and I think it offers a fresh look to the front. Another part of the interior that's going to go unnoticed are the rear seats. Originally, the car came with cloth interior, and I changed that out. But I wanted to offer a bit more to the interior of the vehicle, so I opted to find some rear seats, which was a lot harder than I had anticipated, because being that we're in California, what you'll often notice is that the top of the rear seats is usually dried and sunburned right where the rear deck is. And the way I had to get these seats is I literally had to buy an entire car just so I can take out the rear seats. Under the hood, I decided to retain the original motor. This is the original motor that is original to the car. It's an F22B1 with VTEC. The car was actually somewhat recently restored, and this was done with the help of Daniel from WerdWerx. The car before I painted it was black, and when I opened up the hood, you could see the black. Not that that bugged me, because it was an okay color and it kind of went with the exterior of the car, but I wanted everything to match. So we took out the original engine. I took it back to Bazan Auto so that they could repaint the engine bay. And in the meantime, while they were working on the engine bay, I also hand cleaned the entire block. People like to spray it to give it a new OEM look. I don't like that, because over time it begins to chip and it begins to look ugly. So I took a paintbrush and various picks, and I hand cleaned the transmission, I hand cleaned the block and all the other components, including the intake and every and any little thing you'll see. Well, the power steering pump, the AC condenser, and the alternator. I polished the Mugen headers. I had the tow hitch and also all the brackets for the AC compressor, for the alternator bracket, and the power steering pump nickel plated. And I have block off plates in the rear from Fat Fork Customs, those were also nickel plated. In addition to the fuel rail, that was also nickel plated. The front strut bar is a very special piece to me. It's from Fat Fork Customs. It's a 3-point strut bar, and this originally came on another coupe. The coupe belonged to my friend Alex from up in the Bay Area, and I'm sure many of you may have seen a blue J-swapped coupe. That's Alex, that's the homeboy. And when he decided to part out his car, he gave me the opportunity to purchase that specific strut bar. And it's different from other ones because it's bare and you can see the welding, whereas anyone else who has it, it's been powder coated one color and you can't see that. My car is very much a community build. It's been possible because of all the people I've met in the community. And even though those cars are no longer here and driving, I like to think that in my acquisition of parts that were once on their car, it's letting their car live on via my vehicle. There's many parts of the car in the engine bay that I'm proud of, but one of them that I'm very proud of is my Mugen air intake box, because I had to fabricate this bracket all on my own. So as simple as it may look, it was actually very difficult to do because I needed to get the bend just right to align with the hole that needed to be enlarged at the bottom, in addition to the top side of the intake not being crushed by the skeleton on the bottom of the hood. So it took a lot of work, and I utilized a lot of ideas that I've seen from automotive shows. So in this instance, what I did was I closed the hood and I took aluminum foil, just wrapped it up in a ball, and I put it on top of the intake so that when I closed it, I would see the pressure points of where the foil would contact the intake, and that would let me know I need to lower the back of the intake or the front of the intake furthermore. Believe it or not, I don't have any further plans. This is the car and it's pretty much final iteration. And I know a lot of people say that, but I have something much larger on the horizon. And I needed to build this car for two reasons. The first one was I needed to finish and build this car and enjoy, so that I had something nice to drive in the meantime. And I say in the meantime because this was just a stepping stone in learning how to build cars so that I could ultimately begin building my 1947 Cadillac Series 62. That is my lowrider. That's my dream car. People want their Lamborghinis or supercars or whatnot. I have my dream car. Another part of the engine bay that you'll notice is the valve cover, which reads the Accord Collective. And the Accord Collective is something that's extremely special to me. For all of you guys who went and attended CAM when it was running, myself, in addition to 5 other individuals, were the primary organizers for that. Alan Kraft, Ed Fong, Jenny Larios, and Sagar Valles. They are just as much of Accord Collective as I am. And being that the engine is the heart of the car, I needed something to reflect, something that meant a lot to me. And the Accord Collective was that.
What is your favorite part about your car?
I would say it's the battery, surprisingly.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
The battery was relocated to the spare tire well. And the reason why it's my favorite is because prior to, back in the day, my college days, if I wanted to drive the Accord, I had to take out the battery from my daily and put it in the Accord. And it was just a hassle, even though it's just moving a battery. But it was something that was unwarranted. Now, with the battery being relocated, I can jump in the car whenever I want, when I do decide to drive it, and just take off. It's a convenience. The car wouldn't be anything without the 5th Gen community and the people that I've met. What's funny is that many of those people, we started off as car enthusiasts with a common interest, and now they're lifelong friends. And I'm very, very, very grateful to them all. I hope I don't miss anyone, but I'm sure I will. One of the first people I do want to thank is Daniel from WerdWerx. I mentioned that he helped and primarily did a majority of the work in the engine bay. And the initial intent was for me to assist and help in that manner. But that was at the time that COVID really started kicking off in late 2019 and early 2020. And it was at that same time that my wife and I learned that we were going to be parents. So considering the circumstances and all the unknown at the beginning, I wasn't able to have as much of a hand in it as I would have liked to. In the instance I don't mention your name, I am extremely sorry. I've had so many hands work on this car to make it what it is, but I am so fortunate, appreciative, and gracious for you guys taking the time to help me and teach me. I want to also take the time to thank my wife. Thank you for being patient and understanding for all the time that it took to make this car into a reality, into my vision. I'll forever be grateful for your patience and understanding and allowing me to grow within the community and with the community, as well as make some lifelong friends, not only for me, but for both of us. My primo Edward, thank you for teaching me how to drive manual, even though it was on those horrible hills by where you live. I would have never been able to convert the car to manual if it wasn't for you to take the time and teach me how to drive stick. My tío Bear and my tío Ismael, you guys are probably the biggest reason why the car is the way that it is. I love you guys a lot. Thank you for taking all the time to teach me how to work on the car with my own two hands and how to look at the design aspect of cars and what it can be, not just what it is. Thank you, tíos. With the way the market is now, I don't see myself owning one in the future. Pause it.
What happened?
I lost my train of thought.
No, mom.
Yeah.
I was like, why is there a car behind me?
Nah.
Oh, you're good.
I said I was down with it. And I'd always been a two-door type of guy, mainly because...
What's up, man?
$1,000. Si quieres. Sí. Gracias.
Alright, Rob, so tell us about your wheel and tire setup. What do you got going on?
These are...
So my wheel and tire setup.
Yes. Okay.
3,
cool. 2.
2.
There's still a lot more people that I want to thank. So I'm just gonna try to go from front to back on the car.
No,
and Okay. Gus dijo que no, so I'm sorry. If you get mad at me for not mentioning your name, it's because of Gus.
I'll take the blame. I'll take the blame.
Okay.
Sick as fuck. Shit's dope. I like those caddies.
No, that's not a Jeep.
No, mames.
I was thinking, I know.
Mames.
I know, dog.
No, mames, Mr. Lowrider.
Oh, you know what? I know what I want to add.
What?
Where the way the battery is set up. But then I have to take out everything from the trunk.
Engine. Let me know when you do the pull.
Not bad.
That was good. That was really good, senor. Car sounds so good. Hey, it's very comfortable. trying to get out from 5th gear.
I was in 5th, was I? No way I was in 5th.
You were in 5th, fool. Homie's trying to get out from 5th gear. Yeah. First time driving manual, don't worry.
All right, ready, action.